Hello YouTube, welcome to the channel. Now then, on today's video we're going to be looking at this. It's a 1/10 scale Ujietoys UJ99 G107. This isn't the version that I have purchased. The version that I've purchased, it looks like sort of that generic Chinese Infraction. Now then, I have actually purchased this with my own money. I'm a bit of a sucker for sort of unknown brands and trying them, and I've saved up all my Google AdSense revenue. I thought, well, I'll treat myself and buy myself a new RC and see what it's like. Now, it's always a bit of a risk when you've got unknown brands or new brands. It's the spares back up, but I'm hoping that the underpinnings of this and the transmission are going to be very, very similar. They look very, very similar to Wltoys. So fingers crossed, the main parts are going to be interchangeable with Wltoys. So because there's no, I don't believe there's any spares backup for these at the moment. There will be in the future, hopefully, but at the moment there isn't. Now, I purchased this off Banggood, and for the princely sum of 120 quid. Like I say, it's 1/10 scale, so it's not a particularly expensive 1/10 scale, but again, it's not a particularly cheap RC. It will cost you approximately $150 to our American brethren. So again, once again, it's not a super cheap RC, but for 1/10 scale truck, it's not that expensive either. We'll take a quick look at the box and then we'll get into it. It's obviously 1/10 scale. I'm highly dubious about this. I think it's probably more like 1/11 or 1/12, to be honest. When the Chinese say give you a scale, it's normally not mega accurate. I don't think. 2.4 gig. It says it's high speed. Got a 550 brush motor in it. Probably got a reasonable turn of speed. Off-road desert. It's fully ball raced. Oversized tyres, we get big chunky tyres, oil shocks, lights, and it says battery, well, I'd hope so anyway. Anyway, enough waffle. Let's crack this bad boy open and see what we get. I'm genuinely excited about this. So anyway, enough waffle, let's crack the box open. Right then, in the box we get our instruction and hopefully parts manual. If the parts are listed in here, might just be able to cross-reference them with Wltoys, so we'll be able to check my assumption. We've got a couple of bags of accessories, little metal wheel spanner, little screwdriver in there. That logo, incidentally, appears on the 1/16 scale UG99, so I'm pretty sure this company is one of the same thing. I'm hoping this bodes well for the spare situation, because that is a Wltoys USB battery charger. So I'm hoping that the spares are going to be similar as well. The battery is very, very similar to a Wltoys item. This says 2000 milliamp hours. Normally the Wltoys ones are 1500 if they're the lithium ion packs. But this, again, this looks like a Wltoys battery. The transmitter is basically the same one as you get with the little 1/16 scale car. Not the best transmitter in the world. They do feel a bit plasticky and flimsy, but they're all right. They've never let me down. I think it takes 3 AA batteries. Incidentally, that truck is based, the smaller 1/16 scale UG99 is based on a Xinlehong, and so is this transmitter. And last but not least, we've got the actual truck itself, and I'm not going to lie, I personally think this thing looks epic. I love this sort of tealy blue colour. You've got these great big chunky tyres on it. Like I say, I don't think it's a true 1/10 scale. I think it's possibly slightly smaller. We've got a wheelie bar on the back. This is a 550 brushed version, so it'll have some go in it. The running gear, that to me looks classic Wltoys, sort of, is it 1240? Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, that to me looks classic Wltoys. Not so sure about the wishbones, but definitely the shocks. I can see the shocks in there. Anyway, I think what we'll do is whip this body off. It really does look epic, this thing is. It looks like a little mini Infraction monster truck. Dead cool looking. We've got metal drive shafts. We've got adjustable turnbuckles and rods on the steering for towing and camber. It looks a decent quality piece of kit, this does, initially. Anyway, let's get this bodywork off and we'll have a butcher's underneath. Right then, now that we've taken that gorgeous blue body off, we can have a quick look underneath. We've got a dual ESC and receiver there. It's probably, I can't find an ampage for it, but I'm presuming because it's a 550 motor, it's going to be about 40-50 amps output, something like that. I've got a 3-wire steering servo, which is nice to see, not a 5-wire one like you get in a lot of Wltoys. We've got our brushed 550 motor, so hopefully that's going to give us a bit of go. We've got decent oil shocks all round, and they're adjustable for preload, and these units look very, very similar to the ones you find on a 1040-01, I'm going to be honest. We've got adjustable basically turnbuckles for the steering and camber, so we can adjust the toe in and the camber of the wheels on the front, and we can adjust the camber on the rear as well. All the drive shafts, they look to be metal, as do the differential cups, and we've got a red anodized alloy drive shaft running down the center. This thing is very reminiscent, I should say, of a bastardized sort of 1240-17 and 1040-01. I can see sort of elements of both in here. Whether or not any of the parts are the same, I don't know. I've noticed that the wishbones, they do look different, but having said that, these adjustable rods here, they do look very, very similar to the 1040-01 ones. What I might do is we'll do our usual trick of, I'll take some of it apart, because again, that gear cover looks like it's come straight off of a 1240-17. What we'll do is we'll do our usual trick of, we'll take some of the transmission apart and we'll have a look to see what we get underneath all that lot. Okay then, now you're going to have to ignore the obvious continuity issues with this next bit of footage. I honestly thought I'd shot this prior to taking the truck out, but I cannot find it anywhere on the camera, so I've had to go back and reshoot it. So you're going to have to ignore all the dirt and pretend that this has never been out before. Now I am actually looking to see if there's any similarities between this and Wltoys. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't appear that there is a great amount of commonality. Some parts are so close that you can actually fit them, no problem at all. But others, I think we might struggle. I mean, I know for the fact this centered drive shaft here is a little bit longer than, say, off a 1240-17. So that wouldn't fit. But if you go to the shock towers, I'm almost positive that these shock towers will bolt straight on, as the bolt pattern virtually lines up with the ones on the Ujietoys. It's the same with these steering hubs. The steering hubs off a 1040-01 look as though they'd fit, but there are other things, like, weirdly, like the drive shafts, they're very, very similar to a Xinlehong, was it 9125, but the actual hubs, etc., off a 9125 are nothing like. They won't fit. So I'm a little bit worried now, because I thought there'd be more parts commonality between this and Wltoys, but it looks as though this might be a little bit of a mismatch of all sorts. I've had a quick look through all my diffs, and the diffs don't look anything like anything else I've got, but but I haven't got one to hand, unfortunately. But I think they do look like they're off, or the ones off a Wltoys, is it 12.428 would fit, but I can't be 100% sure because I've not got one to hand. I guess what I'm trying to say is, at this moment in time, I'm a little bit worried, because I thought there would be more commonality between the Wltoys trucks and the Ujietoys. But obviously there are some minor and major differences that would stop me from using Wltoys spares. Right, I've just put it all back together, and I thought I'd show you guys the lights before we go any further. The steering servo on this thing is reasonably quick. Racks reasonably quickly. Headlights, we've got a button on the transmitter. If we click it once, we just get the red rings around the outside. If we click it again, we get the internal sort of white LEDs. Click it again, they go off. It's a similar sort of story to the LED bar at the back. If we click it, we get a little red light. I think it flashes. If we click it again, it flashes even quicker, and we can turn it off. Now, I have noticed that one of the shock mounts was loose, so I did tighten that up. And the transmitter, we've got a speed, basically a dual rate throttle, and we've got obviously a fine adjustment for the steering servo at the front. Anyway, enough waffle. I don't think this thing is going to blow our socks off with regards to top speed. We're going to check that first, and then we're going to take it to the miniature construction test track, and we're going to take it for a rip round, see what it's like. Right then, we've got a speedo strapped to the back of this thing. As soon as you're here, and what do you reckon?
Well, it looks just amazing, to be honest with you. Looks like a little off-road infraction. I'm very excited to see what this thing will do. Brushless.
What do you reckon speed?
Whoa, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 23.
Do you? I reckon it's going to be 16, you know.
Do you?
Yeah, I do, because it's only a lithium ion. But anyway.
Is it?
Let's
throw me a loop there.
Anyway, let's find out. Come on. It was better than I thought, 17.2.
Oh, way
so
off.
Well, I don't think this is going to be the fastest thing in the world, but I bet it'll be a little bit peppier with a lipo in it. I don't know whether to try it with a lipo.
Do you want to try a little lipo? I've got a little one to hand.
Go on then, let's try lipo. Right, when we actually remember to turn the trim all the way up as well, this thing will actually do 19.6. That is with a little lipo in it though, but I forgot to turn the trim all the way up on the bloody throttle.
Perfect.
Right then, back inside, what do we think of the Ujietoys G107 here? Well, let's not break with tradition, but let's have some pros and cons, and we'll start with the cons first. Spares backup. There isn't a great deal of information out there at the moment about where you can get spare parts for these things. Like I say, I'm pretty sure that some of the parts are going to be Wltoys. They look very, very familiar. But as an official supplier of spares, as yet at the time of making this video, I haven't found anybody. Now, I have said this before about RC brands, and then 2 or 3 months later, the spares availability becomes a lot easier. But at the moment, I can't even find a Ujietoys official website, to be honest. But at the moment, I am struggling to find a source for spare parts for these. The next thing I've got written down on my list is the actual space for the battery. Now, it's only large enough to accommodate those little lithium ion packs. You could at some point, I'm sure, extend the little battery clamp like you do in the Wltoys and move it up slightly, and you could possibly drill another couple of holes in the aluminium chassis. So you could get one of the Wltoys 2200 milliamp hour batteries in. But as it comes from the factory, there's basically the battery compartment, or the little brackets that hold the battery in, are only really big enough to hold those little lithium ion packs in. Now, it's all right for me because I've got loads of these little packs, but if you bought this truck, then you'd only get about 10 minutes out of it before you either bought some more batteries or recharged the one you've got. So, considering the size of the truck, the battery you get with it isn't particularly big. Now, while we were out, nothing actually broke or nothing fell off, but I did have one of the wheel nuts back itself off, which unfortunately it did it twice, and it actually damaged the plastic wheel hex and slightly damaged the hex inside of the wheel. Like I say, it isn't a major problem, but like I said, I thought it's worth mentioning to you guys that one of the wheel nuts backed itself off. This is an easy fix. You just basically put another wheel nut on, and away you go again. But like I say, it did actually cause a little bit of damage to the truck while we were out. And the last bad point I've got written down on my list is there is quite a bit of play in all of the wheels. Now, I'm not expecting a precision-made piece of equipment here for the price. I mean, 120 quid. It's not a great deal of money to spend on a 1/10 scale truck. But there is quite a reasonable amount of play from the factory in the suspension and the steering. It doesn't seem to affect the handling, and it doesn't make it any less fun to use, but it is affecting me OCD slightly, and I would have liked to have seen some slightly tighter componentry, I think. Right then, that's enough negativity. Let's have some of the pros, and there are plenty of them. Spoiler alert, I did actually really enjoy using this truck, and everybody else that had to go really enjoyed it as well. Adjustability, we all like the adjustability of this thing. I mean, especially on the front, you've obviously got toe-in and camber adjustment on the rear, as well as all 4 shocks are oil, and you can adjust the preload. Didn't need to do any of it while we were out, I must admit, because I just wanted to try the truck as it was from the factory, and the handling is really good actually. But I did like, considering this is a budget truck, I did like all the adjustability available on the suspension. The next thing is these tyres. I don't know what it is about these tyres. They're quite firm and they do have foams in, but they give bags and bags of grip. They really do. This thing has got more grip than power. I mean, I know it's only got a 550 brushed motor in it, but these tyres were exceptional on the surface we used them on. So the tyres on this thing, loads of grip. The next thing we really liked about the truck was the ground clearance. You do get a reasonable amount of ground clearance on this thing, and this thing handles really nice. It's very neutral, very correctable. I mean, I think mainly because it's a decent chassis, decent suspension, and you've not got a super amount of power, but you've got enough power to make it interesting. But it's also controllable, so it basically makes this thing really entertaining and satisfying to use. The next good point I've got written down on my list is 120 quid. I don't think that's a lot of money to pay for something like this. You do get a reasonable amount of RC for your money. Like I say, it does handle well. It's not the quickest thing in the world, but it does handle well, and everybody that used it really enjoyed it. I also absolutely love the looks of this thing. I really do. The lights look great when you've got the red rings, and especially when you're spanking around the woods. You've got these great big red eyes looking at you, and the red light at the back. But the looks of this thing, I think it's absolutely spot on. I really do like the looks, and it's just a good looking truck. Apart from the little problem with the one wheel nut, which just marred an otherwise blemish-free outing, nothing broke, nothing fell off. We did hit quite a few trees, we turned it over, we jumped it, we spanked it round. Like I say, nothing broke, nothing fell off. And the best thing about this truck, which basically trumps all of the small faults, is it is bloody good fun to use and really satisfying to pilot around. Like I say, I thoroughly enjoyed using it. Everybody that had to go thoroughly enjoyed using it. So it's certainly got the fun factor in spades. Right then, conclusion time. Would I recommend the Ujietoys UJ99 G107 1/10 scale truck to you guys? And I'm going to say it's an emphatic yes. I thoroughly enjoyed using it. Everybody that had to go enjoyed using it. Everybody commented on how nice it handled. Everybody commented on the fact that how grippy these tyres were. It put a smile on everyone's face. I honestly can't wait to try it again, so that's got to count for something. So it didn't break, apart from me had a little bit of a trouble with the wheel nut. Nothing broke, nothing fell off, so I would say, yeah, I would recommend it wholeheartedly to you guys. I think you could do a lot worse than this. Like I say, thoroughly enjoyed using it, can't wait to use it again. As ever, if you want this truck, there will be a link in the description to Banggood, to where I got it from. Now, I am working on trying to get a promo code for this off them, so if there's not one when I post a video up, if you check back in a few days, they're normally pretty good, Banggood are, and they normally give me a promo code to my subscribers, so keep checking back. If you've enjoyed the video and you found it of some use and interest, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you're feeling that way inclined, hit that subscribe button. It makes a huge difference to the channel. Once again, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again very soon. Thank you.